Alright, my friends, let's get this going here. You are watching Political Point Magazine. Where the right is right and the left, well, the left is always on the wrong side of history. Why? Because political minds want to know. So enjoy a conservative point of view. And let's talk pea soup. With tonight's top stories. Ha. Well, Hillary is officially politically damaged goods. Part 22 or 23 now. It's getting up there because now Hillary gets grilled before the Benghazi committee before Congress again on Benghazi. And let's recap, shall we? Oh yeah, we revealed a smoking gun in the testimony there. Okay, but and let's recap. Obama changes course on Afghanistan. Alright, yeah, this ought to be interesting. And Paul Ryan announces that he is running, he puts his hat in the ring for the Speaker of the House race. And also, the Democrats are dropping like flies. First it was Jim Webb dropped out, then Lincoln Chafee dropped out, and oh, guess what? Amidst all the speculation that he was going to jump in, guess what? Biden is not running. Okay? We're going to take it to the phones with you, the viewers, and talk about all of this and more. On tonight, my name is William Mitro. Alrighty. Alright, and so, my friends, it starts off. We have the smoking gun of the of Hillary's darn testimony, okay? And this is quite interesting to see, mind you. All right, and we're gonna get into a lot of this tonight because I have been waiting for this moment now. Throughout all of the debate, though, throughout all of the everything that has been going on here, all right, and I'm going to take it to the Benghazi committee here in a moment here. But we all know that Hillary Clinton has been lying and about her emails, and there's a current FBI investigation in there. Now, as she has been in the testimony stage here now, last week she testified for 11 hours. 11 hours, mind you. Okay, so 11 hours before Congress. Okay, and it's just weird, you know. So the Democrats have been claiming ever since. Now, excuse me here. Okay, I gotta get that in there. But anyhow, the Democrats have been claiming ever since that McCarthy made that comment about the Benghazi committee that this whole thing has been a political witch hunt, but it's not. Okay, and in this second testimony here, Okay, it surprised me that the top Democrat on the committee tried to make it a partisan issue. Okay, mind you. Okay, with all of this, okay, we have so it is in that stage there. That's now. Okay, let's hear some of the testimony here. All right, take a look at this, my friend.
They are the ones who plan your trip to keep you safe. They certainly did that for me. But most importantly, that's what they do every day for everybody who serves our country as a diplomat or development professional. And I was not going to second guess them. I was not going to substitute my judgment, which is not based on experience that they have in keeping people safe for theirs. And the changes that were recommended by the Accountability Review Board are ones that we thought made sense and began quickly to implement.
Now, the ARB, after conducting, Madam Secretary, more than 100 interviews, identified specific employee and a specific employee at the State Department who denied these requests. It was Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Bureau of Diplomatic Security, Charlene Lamb, and again, she did come before the Oversight Committee. The ARB was very critical of her. It was also critical of her two supervisors, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary and the Assistant Secretary for Diplomatic Security. The Oversight Committee found the same answer as the ARB. It found that this official denied these requests, and it found no evidence that you approved or denied them. The problem is that Republicans just keep asking the same question over and over again and pretend they don't know the answer. In 2013, the Republican chairman of 5 House committees issued a report falsely accusing you personally of denying these requests in a cable over your signature. The next day, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, Darrell Issa, went on national television and accused you of the same thing. Can we play that clip, please?
Secretary of State was just wrong. She said she did not participate in this, and yet only a few months before the attack, she outright denied security in her signature in a cable, April 2012.
Do you remember that allegation, Madam Secretary?
I do.
Well, when the Washington Post fact checker examined this claim, it 4 Pinocchios. They called it a whopper. It turns out that the Republicans had a copy of that cable, but they didn't tell the American people that your so-called signature was just a stamp that appeared on millions of cables from the State Department every single year. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, Madam Secretary, my goal has always been to gather facts and to defend the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Last year I asked our staff to compile an asked and answered database, and this specific issue was answered thoroughly. On Monday we put out another report, and this issue was addressed yet again. But the Republicans want to keep this attack going, so they are now trying to argue that we have new emails that raise new questions. The truth is that we have reviewed these emails, and they don't contradict the previous conclusions. They confirm them. They corroborate them. We've reviewed emails from Ambassador Stevens, and they show that he asked Charlene Lamb for more security. Nothing we have obtained, not the new interviews or the new emails, changes the basic facts we have known for 3 years. Secretary Clinton, let me ask one final question, and please take as much time as you want to answer this. There's no evidence to support the Republican claims that you personally rejected security requests. So some have argued that you, since you knew the danger was increasing in Libya, you should have been in there making detailed decisions about whether there should be 5, 7, or even 9 security officers at any given post. Madam Secretary, I know you have answered over again. You might want to just elaborate and just I have a minute and 7 seconds.
Well, thank you, Congressman. I think there has been some confusion, and I welcome the opportunity to try to clarify it to the best of my ability. With respect, as you point out, the claims that were made about the cables, I think you have explained the fact, which is that it's the long-standing tradition of the State Department for cables from around the world to be sent to and sent from the State Department under the signature, over the signature of the Secretary of State. It's a stamp. It's just part of the tradition. There are millions of them, as you point out. They are sorted through and directed to the appropriate personnel. Very few of them ever come to my attention. None of them with respect to security regarding Benghazi did. Then the other point, which I thank you for raising so that perhaps I can speak to this one as well. There is, of course, information that we were obtaining about the increasingly dangerous environment in Libya, across the country, but in particular in eastern Libya. And we were aware of that, and we were certainly taking that into account. There was no actionable intelligence on September 11th or even before that date about any kind of planned attack on our compound in Benghazi. And there were a lot of debates apparently that went on within the security professionals about what to provide, because they did have to prioritize. The Accountability Board pointed that out. The State Department has historically, and certainly before this terrible incident, not had the amount of money that we thought would be necessary to do what was required to protect everyone. So of course there had to be priorities, and that was something that the security professionals dealt with. I think that both Admiral Mullen and Ambassador Pickering made it very clear that they thought that the high threat post should move to a higher level of scrutiny, and we had immediately moved to do that.
Thank you.
Thank the gentleman. The chair would now recognize the gentlelady from Indiana, Ms. Brooks.
Good morning, Secretary Clinton.
I think this is one of the parts that I liked about the okay here and on, but now the Democrat there. Okay, now I want you to take a look at this right here. Okay, but the Democrat that was Elijah Cummings. Okay, and he was trying to make it a partisan issue, or trying to make it seem like the Republicans were just doing a witch hunt on Hillary. But this is what. But here in the testimony here, this is where I feel that Hillary got grilled, and goodness, my friends, this is Hillary did get grilled before Congress. Okay, but this is one of my favorite parts of the testimony here. Okay, so take a look at this. Okay.
Secretary Clinton.
Morning.
Thank you for being here today. In drawing on what you just said, that very few but no requests for Benghazi came to your attention, I'd like to show you something. This pile represents the emails that you sent or received about Libya in 2011, from February through December of 2011. This pile represents the emails you sent or received from early 2012 until the day of the attack. There are 795 emails in this pile. We've counted them. There are 67 emails in this pile in 2012. And I'm troubled by what I see here. And so my questions relate to these piles. In this pile in 2011, I see daily updates, sometimes hourly updates, from your staff about Benghazi and Chris Stevens. When I look at this pile, in 2012, I only see a handful of emails to you from your senior staff about Benghazi, and I have several questions for you about this disparity, because we know from talking to your senior advisors that they knew, and many of them are here today, seated behind you, they knew to send you important information, issues that were of importance to you, and I can only conclude by your own records that there was a lack of interest in Libya in 2012. So let's first focus, though, on this pile and what was happening in Libya in 2011. We had an ambassador to Libya, Ambassador Kretz, but you've told us that, and you told us in your opening, you handpicked Chris Stevens to be your special representative in Benghazi, and you sent him there. And by your own emails, most have provided last February, a few provided just a few weeks ago, they show that in March of 11, so we're in March of 11, you had Chris Stevens join you in Paris, where you were meeting with the leader of the Libyan revolution. And after Paris, that is when, as you talked about, Chris Stevens went into Benghazi, I believe in April 5th of 2011, on that Greek cargo ship. How long was he expected to stay? What were Chris Stevens' orders from you about Libya and about Benghazi specifically?
Chris Stevens was asked to go to Benghazi to do reconnaissance, to try to figure out who were the leaders of the insurgency who were based in Benghazi, what their goals were, what they understood would happen if they were successful. It was, as I said, the hard-nosed 21st century diplomacy that is rooted in the old-fashioned necessary work of building relationships and gathering information.
How long was he anticipated to stay in Benghazi? Do you recall?
It was open-ended. We were, in discussing it with him, unsure as to how productive it would be, whether it would be appropriate for him to stay for a long time or a short time. That was very much going to depend upon Chris's own assessment. We knew we were sending someone who understood the area, who understood the language, who understood a lot of the personalities because of the historical study that he used to love to do, and we were going to be guided by what he decided.
I'd like to draw your attention to an email. It's an email found at tab 1. It's an Ops Center email that was forwarded to you from Huma Abedin on Sunday, March 27th, that says at the bottom of the email, so the current game plan is for Mr. Stevens to move no later Wednesday from Malta to Benghazi, but the bottom of the email says the goal of this one-day trip is for him to lay the groundwork for a stay of up to 30 days. So just to refresh that recollection, I believe initially the goal was to go in for 30 days. Were you personally briefed on his security plan prior to him going into Libya? Because
yes.
At that time, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry to interrupt, Gaddafi's forces were still battling the rebels, correct?
Right. That's right.
And so what were you personally briefed before you sent Mr. Stevens into Benghazi?
I was personally told by the officials who were in the State Department, who were immediately above Chris, who were making the plans for him to go in, that it was going to be expeditionary diplomacy. It was going to require him to make a lot of judgments on the ground about what he could accomplish, and including where it would be safe for him to be and how long for him to stay. And I think the initial decision was, up to 30 days and reassess, but it could have been 10 days, it could have been 60 days, depending upon what he found and what he reported back to us.
And possibly what was determined about the danger of Benghazi. Who were those officials? Secretary?
Well, there were a number of officials who were working...
That were advising you on the security specifically.
Well, with respect to the security, this was a particular concern of the Assistant Secretary for the Bureau in which Chris worked.
And I'm sorry, what was that person's name?
Assistant Secretary Jeff Feldman.
Thank you.
And it was also a concern of the Assistant Secretary for Diplomatic Security, as well as other officials within the State Department. And I think it's fair to say, Congresswoman, this was, we all knew, a risky undertaking. And it was something that was, as I said in my opening statement, more reminiscent of the way diplomacy was practiced back in the 19th century, because we didn't have the internet, we didn't have instantaneous communications. You would send diplomats and envoys into places and not hear from them for maybe months. This was obviously not of that kind, but it was not that different in degree from what we had done before, and it was a risky undertaking, and one which Chris volunteered for and was anxious to undertake.
And it was so risky, I'd like to pull up another email from the Ops Center that was forwarded to you from Ms. Abedin on Sunday, April 10th. So he had been there about 5 days, and it indicates that the situation in Ajdabiya had worsened to the point where Stevens is considering departing from Benghazi. This is within 5 days of him going in. Were you aware of that concern within the first 5 days that he had gone in?
Yeah.
And did anyone share that with you? And
Yes.
who did share that with you?
We were aware because we were really counting on Chris to guide us and give us the information from the ground. We had no other sources. There was no American outpost. There was no, American military presence. Eventually, other Americans representing different agencies were able to get into Benghazi and begin to do the same work, but they, of course, couldn't do that work overtly, which is why we wanted a diplomat who could be publicly meeting with people to try to get the best assessment. But it was always going to be a constant risk, and we knew that.
And so let me go back to the risk in 2011, because there was a lot of communication, once again, from your senior staff, from the State Department, to you or from you in 2011. And in fact, that is when Gaddafi fell. He fell in 2011. But then, when we go to 2012, Libya, Benghazi, Chris Stevens, the staff there, they seem to fall off your radar in 2012, and the situation is getting much worse in 2012. It was getting much worse. And let me just share for you, in your record that we have reviewed, there is not one email to you or from you in 2012 when an explosive device went off at our compound in April. There's not a single email in your records about that explosive device. So my question is, this was a very important mission in 2011. You sent Chris Stevens there, but yet when our compound is attacked in 2012, what kind of culture was created in the State Department that your folks couldn't tell you in an email about a bomb in April of 2012?
Well, Congresswoman, I did not conduct most of the business that I did on behalf of our country on email. I conducted it in meetings. I read massive amounts of memos, great deal of classified information. I made a lot of secure phone calls. I was in and out of the White House all the time. There were a lot of things that happened that I was aware of and that I was reacting to. If you were to be in my office in the State Department, I didn't have a computer. I did not do the vast majority of my work on email, and I bet there's a lot of Sid Blumenthal's emails in there from 2011 too.
Well,
and so I think that I don't want you to have a mistaken impression about what I did and how I did it. Most of my work was not done on emails with my closest aides, with officials in the State Department, officials in the rest of the government, as well as the White House and people around the world.
And thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure that it's not all done on emails, Madam Secretary, and there are meetings and there are discussions. And so then when our compound took a second attack on June 6th, when a bomb blew a wall through the compound then, no emails at all. But I am interested in knowing, who were you meeting with, who were you huddling with, how were you informed about those things, because there is nothing in the emails that talks about two significant attacks on our compounds in 2012.
You hear that? Nothing in the emails in 2012. That's a smoking gun, my friends. Okay, and I remind everybody that her emails were she collected her emails on a private server, which was not allowed, by the way. Okay, and now, but I do want to get into something else, which is quite interesting about this. Okay, because now we have so on that note, there was plenty of emails, communication between the consulate and Hillary Clinton in 2011, but in 2012, where's the emails? Where's the communication? Did you just let your confidants over there to die? There were several requests, and I'm going to get into more of this because this happens to be the the smoking gun, my friends. Okay, because now with all of this that and so as it's just ridiculous. You remember the last time she testified, and I noticed she talks with her hands. And remember what difference does it make? Yeah, but now I'm gonna show more of the more of this because it's very, very crucial to what. It's very, very crucial to understand what we are dealing with here. Okay.
Chris, to go to Libya as our envoy.
3 years.
Okay, wait. Now let me get into this because it's interesting. It's significant that the Benghazi committee, okay, also has. Okay, with all of this now, and okay, yes, and so I want to show you more of the grilling here, and there's very, very, very important points here. All right, very, very important points here. All right, so
confronting, and they did the best they could under the circumstances, and many of the security requests, as I just detailed, were agreed to, others weren't.
Gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, I want to begin by thanking you for your...
Wait a minute. Let me get into more because this is very, very crucial. There's the smoking gun that did appear in here. Okay, because now and she talked about the emails, the communication, and the security. All right. Now, throughout this, okay. Now, the highlights of all of this, okay. Now let me just go over the highlights here, okay. Now, and this is very, very interesting. Here, take a look.
And people around the world.
I want to show you a few things here. You're looking at an email you sent to your family. Here's what you said. At 11 o'clock that night, approximately 1 hour after you told the American people it was a video, you say to your family, 2 officers were killed today in Benghazi by an Al-Qaeda-like group. You tell the American people one thing, you tell your family an entirely different story.
Well, I think if you look at the statement that I made, I clearly said that it was an attack.
We just heard email after email after email about Libya and Benghazi that Sidney Blumenthal sent to the Secretary of State. I don't care if he sent it by Morse code, carrier pigeon, smoke signals. The fact that he happened to send it by email is irrelevant. What is relevant is that he was sending information to the Secretary of State. That is what's relevant. Now, with respect to the subpoena, if he'd bothered to answer the telephone calls of our committee, he wouldn't have needed a subpoena.
Would the gentleman yield?
I'll be happy to, but you need to make sure the entire record is correct, Mr. Cummings.
And that's exactly what I want to do.
Well, then go ahead.
I'm about to tell you. I move that we put into the record the entire transcript of Sidney Blumenthal. We're going to release the emails. Let's do the transcript. That way the world can see it.
Well, we didn't.
The motion has been seconded.
Well, we're not going to take that up at a hearing. We'll take that up
Mr.
in a
Chairman, I've
business
consulted
meeting.
with the parliamentarian, and they have informed us that we have a right to a recorded vote on that motion. We want, you
Well, I'll tell you
ask
what,
for the
let's do
truth,
that.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, that's what we want to have. Let the world see it.
Why is it that you only want Mr. Blumenthal's transcript released? Why don't you
I'd
want
like
the
to have all of them
survivors?
released.
The survivors, even their names?
Let me
you
tell
want
you
that?
something. No,
you want that released?
Let me tell you something. Right now,
The only one
right
you've
now,
asked
the
for
only
is Sidney Blumenthal.
the
That's the only one you've asked for. That and Miss Mills.
Cheryl Mills. Cheryl Mills.
That's not true.
Now, that's 2 out of
Chairman asked
54.
for a
Now, if you want to
recorded
ask for some fact
We asked for a
witnesses,
recorded vote on the Blumenthal. You said from the beginning, we want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Why don't we just put the entire transcript out there and let the world see it? What do you have to hide? I'm asking you, Madam Secretary, did you order the fence?
Okay, now, and it got a little heated in there, but there's the other smoking gun. It is
The importance of the video. And I think that is unfortunate because there's no doubt. And as I said earlier, even the person we have now arrested as being one of the ringleaders of the attack on our compound in Benghazi is reputed to have used the video as a way to gather up the attackers that attacked our compound. So I think it's important. These are complex issues, Mr. Congressman, and I think it's important that we look at the totality of what was going on.
interesting. Now, there's the smoking gun in there. Okay, there's the smoking gun in there. Okay, if you listened to what she said. Okay, now, and this is the many faces of Hillary Clinton. Okay. But anyway, there's the smoking gun in there. Okay, there's 2 smoking guns in there, actually 3. Okay, that I just pointed out. Okay, okay. The first was the emails that the Congresswoman pointed out. There was plenty of emails, communications between Benghazi in 2011, but in 2012, when the attack happened, there was. Where's the emails, communications? Why did they deny security? That's the smoking gun right there. Okay, and why weren't they communicating? Okay, why? And then there's the issue of Sidney Blumenthal. Okay, that's the second smoking gun. Okay, Sidney Blumenthal is somebody. Okay, the three smoking guns, and I'm showing you the 3 emotions, we'll call them, of Hillary Clinton here. But this is the 3 areas that I found in that grilling, in the hearing, that there was a smoking gun. Sidney Blumenthal is the second one. Okay, the second one. Okay, now Sidney Blumenthal is a Clinton staffer. Okay, and when Hillary became Secretary of State, President Obama told her not to associate with Sidney Blumenthal. In fact, he was banned from even advising her on things. But yet, as you saw the testimony, that she was consulting with Sidney Blumenthal in there. She was consulting with Sidney Blumenthal. All right. In all of this on Benghazi as well too. Okay, and then the third smoking gun is she told Hillary. She told her daughter. She emailed her daughter that when the attack happened, she emailed her daughter, Chelsea, and told Chelsea that it was a planned attack. Okay. And then there was the communication or the email to the Saudi Arabian leader over about it being a pre-planned attack, but she didn't tell the but then she told her family one thing, that it was an attack, but she told the leader or whatever, and then she told the family of the victims that it was because of a video, the video. So she tells her family one thing, but she tells the leader another, and she tells the family a totally different story. So that's the other smoking gun. Okay? So that's the other smoking gun. And one thing that Hillary didn't take into consideration here, okay, was that there were the FBI was watching all throughout the hearing. The FBI was watching, okay, and so all of Hillary's supporters and the Democrats say that she did a tremendous job. She did a good job. She looked presidential. No, that's BS. That's total BS, my friends. Okay, that's total BS. All right, Hillary failed. She showed incompetence. That's a fourth smoking gun. Okay, incompetence. Incompetence in communication, incompetence in leadership. You know, this is just the smoking gun. All right, they revealed tremendous things in that hearing. Okay, tremendous more things. It was a more productive hearing than the last one. All right. Okay, and then we had Hillary's. You remember. I did not have textual relations with that server. Yeah, remember that. Okay, but anyhow, now we want to get into more, but now I want to push this through. Okay. All right. Now, Obama is kind of on a about face on Afghanistan. You remember Obama has been drawing down troops. Okay, but on Afghanistan now, Obama has changed his mind. You remember? Okay, you remember several videos here. Okay, but I'm going to show you. This is how Obama has been on the military.
For the first time since 9/11, our combat mission in Afghanistan is over. By the end of this year, the transition will be complete, and Afghans will take full responsibility for their security, and our combat mission will be over. America's war in Afghanistan will come to a responsible end. With Afghan forces now in the lead for their own security, our troops have moved to a support role. Together with our allies, we will complete our mission there by the end of this year, and America's longest war will finally be over.
We have some great guests.
But that's not particularly true. Okay. According to Obama now, Obama is leaving troops in Afghanistan.
In Afghanistan came to a responsible end. That milestone was achieved thanks to the courage and the skill of our military, our intelligence, and civilian personnel. They served there with extraordinary skill and valor, And it's worth remembering especially the more than 2,200 American patriots who made the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan. I visited our troops in Afghanistan last year to thank them on behalf of a grateful nation. I told them they could take great pride in the progress that they helped achieve. They struck devastating blows against the al-Qaeda leadership in the tribal regions, delivered justice to Osama bin Laden, prevented terrorist attacks, and saved American lives. They pushed the Taliban back so the Afghan people could reclaim their communities, send their daughters to school, and improve their lives. Our troops trained Afghan forces so they could take the lead for their own security and protect Afghans as they voted in historic elections, leading to the first democratic transfer of power in their country's history. Today, American forces no longer patrol Afghan villages or valleys. Our troops are not engaged in major ground combat against the Taliban. Those missions now belong to Afghans, who are fully responsible for securing their country. But, as I've said before, while America's combat mission in Afghanistan may be over, our commitment to Afghanistan and its people endures. As Commander-in-Chief, I will not allow Afghanistan to be used as safe haven for terrorists to attack our nation again. Our forces therefore remain engaged in two narrow but critical missions: training Afghan forces and supporting counterterrorism operations against of al-Qaeda. Of course, compared to the 100,000 troops we once had in Afghanistan, today fewer than 10,000 remain in support of these very focused missions. I meet regularly with my national security team, including commanders in Afghanistan, to continually assess, honestly, the situation on the ground, to determine where our strategy is working and where we may need greater flexibility. I've insisted consistently that our strategy focus on the development of a sustainable Afghan capacity and self-sufficiency. And when we've needed additional forces to advance that goal, or we've needed to make adjustments in terms of our timetables, then we've made those adjustments. Today I want to update the American people on our efforts. Since taking the lead for security earlier this year, Afghan forces have continued to step up. This has been the first fighting season where Afghans have largely been on their own, and they are fighting for their country bravely and tenaciously. Afghan forces continue to hold most urban areas, and when the Taliban has made gains, as in Kunduz, Afghan forces, backed by coalition support, have been able to push them back. This has come at a very heavy price. This year alone, thousands of Afghan troops and police have lost their lives, as have many Afghan civilians. At the same time, Afghan forces are still not as strong as they need to be. They are developing critical capabilities: intelligence, logistics, aviation, command and control. And meanwhile, the Taliban has made gains, particularly in rural areas, and can still launch deadly attacks in cities, including Kabul. Much of this was predictable. We understood that as we transitioned, that the Taliban would try to exploit some of our movements out of particular areas, and that it would take time for Afghan security forces to strengthen. Pressure from Pakistan has resulted in more al-Qaeda coming into Afghanistan, and we've seen the emergence of an ISIL presence. The bottom line is, in key areas of the country, the security situation is still very fragile, and in some places, there's risk of deterioration. Fortunately, in President Ghani and Chief Executive Abdullah, there is a national unity government that supports a strong partnership with the United States. During their visit earlier this year, President Ghani and I agreed to continue our counterterrorism cooperation, and he has asked for continued support as Afghan forces grow stronger. Following consultations with my entire national security team, as well as our international partners and members of Congress, President Ghani and Chief Executive Abdullah, I'm therefore announcing the following steps which I am convinced offer the best possibility for lasting progress in Afghanistan. First, I've decided to maintain our current posture of 9,800 troops in Afghanistan through most of next year, 2016. Their mission will not change. Our troops will continue to pursue those two narrow tasks that I outlined earlier, training Afghan forces and going after al-Qaeda. But maintaining our current posture through most of next year, rather than a more rapid drawdown, will allow us to sustain our efforts to train and assist Afghan forces as they grow stronger, not only during this fighting season, but into the next one. Second, I've decided that instead of going down to a normal embassy presence in Kabul by the end of 2016, we will maintain 5,500 troops at a small number of bases, including at Bagram, Jalalabad in the east, and Kandahar in the south. Again, the mission will not change. Our troops will focus on training Afghans and counterterrorism operations. But these bases will give us the presence and the reach our forces require to achieve their mission. In this sense, Afghanistan is a key piece of the network of counterterrorism partnerships that we need from South Asia to Africa to deal more broadly with terrorist threats quickly and prevent attacks against our homeland.
So he's leaving less than 10,000 troops there, which is probably less than they wanted. The commanders on the ground wanted. Okay, and then so he's keeping less than 10,000 there. Okay, in 2015, and then into 2016, he's gonna drop them to 55,000. Okay, so 5,000. Yeah, 5 to 5,000. Yeah, so 5,500. Yeah, so 5,500. Okay, yeah. So, but troops are going to be there in 2015 and 2016, and then even after he leaves office. Okay, but it's this is something he should have done in Iraq, and now Iraq is chaos. But his saying that the war, the combat operations are over, have ended, that's not true. Okay, so he just did an about face. He said he was gonna, and I showed you the clips. What he said. He said he was gonna take all of our troops out, of Afghanistan by the end of 2014, and so on, but now he's flipped. He's flipped. I think this is an admission of defeat for him, because his plan really is not working. His national defense plan isn't working, and he just vetoed the national defense spending bill. Okay, in Congress. So his heart really is not in this. Okay, and now I want to get into another segment before I get to the phone calls here, or a couple more. Okay, but it seems to me that the Democrats now are at a bit of a loss here, because we just had the hearing and whatnot. Okay, but you remember, okay, now on the Democrats, okay, and I went over this. Okay, the Democrats have disintegrated. Okay, they're dropping out now. Okay, there was 5 candidates. Okay, now, and there's Hillary Clinton, the crippled frontrunner, along with Bernie Sanders, okay, who's another just awful candidate, okay, and you know, and then there was Jim Webb, Jim Webb, and Lincoln Chafee, and Martin O'Malley, okay, all in the race here. All right, but I want to show you something, okay, with this. What I said on my intro last week, okay, but Jim Webb has dropped out, and Lincoln Chafee has dropped out. But I want to show you what I said on my intro last week, okay. Okay, what I show you, and when I show you this, okay, this is interesting. Out of all the speculation here, okay, okay, this is what I was talking about last week. Democratic debate. The Dems are old. In the intro here, okay. Now take a listen. Okay, take a listen to this. Okay, right here. Feud over 9/11. That's kind of childish to me, I think. And the media speculates about Joe Biden. Is he in or is he out? I would say he's not going to jump in, guys. Just please forget it. All right. Oh, yep. Okay, that's what I said on my intro last week. Okay, last week. Okay, and so as the world turns, Joe Biden is not getting in this race. Okay, the vice president, his heart is not in it. Remember, he lost his son. Okay, his son died. Okay, so he's going through struggles now, and his heart is not in it. So Joe Biden, is not getting into the race. All right. Now, but speaking of people who are kind of on the side of running, but this is on a different race here. Okay, Paul Ryan, okay, Republican from Wisconsin, has announced that he is going to be a candidate for the Speaker of the House. All right, and with that, I do have time for one phone call. Okay, you have been listening in. Okay, but with all of that, my friends, okay, this is very, very crucial. We are running up against crucial times here. All right. So if you are listening, all right, the number is 272. Okay, the number is 272-0319. All right. Okay, and I have time for just one phone call. Okay, but it's very, very crucial. You see the evidence. The Democrats have disintegrated. Okay, they've disintegrated. And you see all the candidates on the Republican side. Okay, signifying, at least to me, that the Republican Party is the big tent party. Okay, we have more diversity on the Republican side here. Okay, we've got Trump, we've got Carson, we've got Fiorina, we've got Jeb Bush, we've got Marco Rubio, we've got John Kasich, Rand Paul, Governor Chris Christie, all of these perfect candidates. Oh, Carly Fiorina, yeah. all of these perfect candidates on the Republican side there. All right, but it's coming down to the wire, my friends. And if you have been paying attention here, at the hearing, I think Hillary just did a horrible job. As she was the worst Secretary of State we have ever had, and with Biden, not even running, it's like the Democrats have failed. The Democrats have failed. We have a failed foreign policy. We have a failed national defense. Now, ISIS is on the rise, and our economy is going down the tubes. All right, which brings me down now to the last words for the night. Okay, the last words for the night, my friends. I spent half the day yesterday with somebody very, very, very special to me. All right, and I gave her a dozen roses, and we spent half the day just going shopping, and it was beautiful. So I'm sending a shout out to that special lady in my life now. Okay, Lexus, you are very, very beautiful, and thank you for pulling through for me. You are very, very special to me, and I hope to spend more time with you. All right, I love you, sweetie. All right, and that's our show for tonight, my friends. Okay, we thank you for watching Political Point, where the right is right and the left is always on the wrong side of history. Follow me on Twitter at WilliamMetro2, and check me out on YouTube. Alright. Thank you for watching Political Point, where the right is right and the left is always on the wrong side of history. This is my special shout out to Lexus. Lexus, you are very, very special to me, and I will do everything I can for you. And baby, I love you with all of my heart. You are so special to me. I love you. I love you, baby. Hope to spend more time with you. All right. I love you, baby.